So welcome, happy Monday. Thank you very much for spending a little time with us to show this off. We're really excited about this and extra excited to be able to offer this to our Essentials users as our first um, of several. So keep your eyes open for that, but the first of several iterations of AI supported tools for behavior analysts. So we're really excited about that. So like I mentioned, I'll give it just a few more moments as we see that participant number climb up. I am Dr. Tim Fuller. I am one of the behavior analysts here in Central Reach. I have a lot of fondness because of how closely I get to work with the Essentials team. So really excited to share anything Essentials related, and this in particular, as it's something that I have worked alongside a really amazing team inside of Essentials for almost a year. The early discussions were happening about this time last year, and so really excited to see this already being used. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the experiences that we're seeing for our initial beta customers inside of Essentials, and also give you guys the chance to take this for a spin too. So I think I'll go ahead and get started. I'm alongside here with Max from Essentials 2. So if there's any questions, please do not hesitate to use that Q&A button. We're all going to be monitoring that so that if it makes sense to pause for a moment for whatever content was discussed and address that, we can save that towards the end if that makes more sense. And then there'll be opportunities to kind of just answer it within that Q&A box if it makes sense to do so. So any and all questions welcome, and just fire away if something comes to mind. So we'll go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, we're going to be taking a look at our AI session summary note drafting tool that is live now in Essentials and available to you. Before we get into the demo, which won't take very long, just kind of the point of this is it's actually really designed to bring valuable time back to you and your staff. I think it's incumbent to share a little bit of background in the way that Central Reach as an organization is approaching the use of artificial intelligence and sort of the company-wide perspective on how we want to make sure that we are aligning any of this use to our organization's values more generally. So just bear with me for a minute. I want to kind of give you that background so that you guys have the peace of mind to know this is not something that we are thinking lightly about, that we're thinking very rigorously. Obviously, there's a lot of curiosity and excitement of that, but there's a lot of skepticism as well. And we want to acknowledge that that's alive and well right here in our own organization. And as I mentioned, we've worked on this tool for just about a year. And so this is not something that has just been sort of rushed together just to jump on the bandwagon of AI. And I also want to acknowledge, there is opportunities to kind of get out there first and offer something that would be valuable to Essentials users, and certainly this is one of it. But it was not a careless process. Yes, BCBAs can utilize this tool as well. We are currently in development of a specific analyst note that would align with the analyst note on Essentials. Be on the lookout for this. This was really designed for that RBT level session note because that's the majority of those session notes. But a BCBA could absolutely use this, and there'll be one in specific coming down the road on that one. So great question.
And Tim, just to add a little bit as well, too, like you were mentioning, we're looking at the AI chat summary notes today, but it's only the first place that we're going to have AI in Essentials and other platforms. We plan on using it pretty broadly as far as in the platform to help alleviate as much as we can in there and give better experience.
Thank you for adding that, Max. And it really underscores one of these statements about the way we think about artificial intelligence, the leveraging of these large language models and machine learning more generally. And so our approach at Central Reach is that we are not at all interested in replacing clinicians. We want to put clinicians at every level of the organizational hierarchy to have them and be in better contact with those that they serve. And so we look at leveraging these tools in ways that actually allow behavior analysts to do the things that we're kind of trained to do, which is provide that behavior analytic support for those that we serve. And so we take a really firm stance that we are not looking to replace clinical or analytic activities, but rather make those activities more able to be done more often, which is what we're here to do anyway as behavior analysts in that regard. We want our tools that we develop to really be that kind of assistant level, and one that doesn't get tired, which is really nice. We do. This is a uniquely human experience of that kind of fatigue. And so we want to look at pain points in our clinical workflows in a way that we could alleviate that. And we could give that to the things that these LLMs, this AI, kind of current crop of AI tools, what they do really well. I mean, let's be honest with each other. There's a lot of talk around artificial intelligence, and that's good, both internally inside of behavior analysis, it's growing, but certainly in a broader societal sense, it's kind of everywhere. And there's a lot of promises made inside of that. That's to be expected with new and exciting technology. And we also acknowledge internally, well, what do LLMs do well? Well, what they do well in a lot of instances, at least right now, is that it does a lot of good things with text and it can produce text. And so that's what we're looking at right here today, is that we're going to feed this thing text from the session, whether that be actual objective data that's collected, anecdotal notes and observations from inside that session. So we're going to feed that in, and what it's going to produce out? Text. And that's really what these LLMs do very, very well right now. And we're going to put certain guardrails in place to make sure that, again, we're putting the analytical and behavior analytic practice at the forefront, and we're doing some back end work to kind of alleviate some of the administrative pain points as it relates to session notes in this case. Other things to sort of make sure that we're really clear on from the central reach standpoint, and for you guys users of Essentials, is that we want to be really responsible with the use of these tools. And so the things you'll see on the right are some of the sort of really principled categories of action that we take internally. And the first and foremost is transparency. We want you as a user of this to be able to see very clearly what's being put in and what being put in is relating to the output. And so that you can see that kind of correspondence, because at the end of the day, correspondence in this regard is really key. You want to make sure that what was observed and what was tracked throughout the session corresponds to what is drafted by this AI tool on the back end side of things. And so you can have the confidence that certainly in the last 10 months, a lot of work has been done to make sure that transparency is observed from the user's perspective, but also that there's a deep foundation of clinical quality assurance that's been done on our side to make sure that that correspondence is there and it adheres to the kinds of regulatory and compliance standards for good session notes, but also that there is good technical quality assurance that's been done to make sure that on the back end, when we say things like data security, it's in fact being made sure that that's the case. Inclusivity in the sense that we want to make our AI tools available to all. And as Max mentioned earlier, we're talking about something that's available right now to Essentials users, but there's going to be a variety of other AI-informed tools across Central Reach's product line. So whether you're using our assessments platform, whether or not you're going to use our parent training and support care companion platform, there's going to be AI that adheres to all of our general principles with regard to how we want to make sure that we're developing these things for Central Reach users. Our director of AI, Dave Stevens, likes to talk about this AI generative flywheel. I'll let him be able to tell that story. I think what's really important to communicate for our time together today is this general crawl, walk, run strategy that we're employing inside Central Reach. So today we're talking about our crawling attempts, something that keeps us leveraging what I've mentioned previously. What are these LLMs really good at? So it's textual based, both input and what it produces as an output. So we're kind of staying inside that crawl strategy for now, with an eye to where can we kind of pick up momentum and steam and really look for opportunities to what we learn from our crawling and our walking strategy into that running strategy. So this isn't just like, okay, what's low hanging fruit? This is really a plan. that has a lot of iterative steps that this flywheel is designed to represent. So these tools are evolving, these LLMs are changing quite frequently. And so we internally need to make sure that we're also staying up to date on, what are these things letting us do and what can we do safely that was ultimately going to bring value to you guys as users. And so that's really what this is designed to communicate, is that this isn't just throwing things at the wall, but this is a really integrated approach to all of our AI tools from now at the crawl strategy until not too far into the future, our walk and run strategies. So let's talk a little bit about what we've heard from customers and from non-customers too. And I think that, something that, let's put it this way: if you are experiencing no difficulty inside your organization about the quality, the timeliness of your session notes, specifically from RBTs, then congratulations, that's fabulous. You are relatively unique in the discipline of applied behavior analysis. And furthermore, what we've also heard is that maybe you're not experiencing that pain point now because you've just invested retraining for your staff, or you just had a staff meeting where you've really talked about the importance of timeliness of submitting these, or what's important in terms of the compliance of hitting all of the necessary categories for your notes. So maybe you're not in that pain point now, but we also know that it's pretty cyclical. If you're not having it now, you might have it in the future. And the amount of time that it takes to not only invest in the training up front, but also the retraining costs over time, that's pretty consistent across a lot of organizations of various sizes. The very small business, medium, large, everybody has this experience. And that would make sense because everybody's kind of confronted with the same standards that we have in terms of medical record keeping and things like that. So here are a few quotes just to kind of echo that we're not alone in this. We're not crazy in thinking about this. And oftentimes when we're inside of our organization, we can sometimes wonder, am I the only one having this difficulty? Or why does this come up every so often in this sort of cyclical pattern? You are in good company. And we think that what we're going to show today is something that's going to help alleviate some of those kind of reoccurring concerns that show up as it relates to, good session note accuracy, compliance, quality, things of that nature. As I've also mentioned, this has been employed. This is out there. This is available to you today for sure. But also, we've had a really great team of beta users, customers that have been utilizing this tool. And we've got a couple of metrics to just kind of draw our attention to. So we're seeing a pretty significant time savings in terms of the completion of these session notes. And we're also seeing in the related points about good outputs. So we're seeing that kind of a good ratio of, all right, 80% of folks are reading these and saying, nope, this is capturing what I need it to capture for what we need in the session note. And then we're also seeing, and I think this is a good point as well, that we're seeing about 20% of those that are going in and making adjustments and editing. And that's good. We want to see both of that. The goal of this tool is not to do it for you, but to get you most of the way there most of the time. And so it really empowers the RBT, instead of having the burden of generating everything, really puts them in a position of an editorial repertoire, so that they're in there and they're quickly reviewing to see, is it hitting all of the high points that I needed to have happen? Am I getting that correspondence between what I observed in the session and what I want reported on this note? And so most of the time, we're seeing that being the case. But we're also seeing users go in there and make the kind of adjustments necessary, because it's not designed to be perfect. It's not designed to do it for you. It's designed to get you most of the way there most of the time. And it's still going to require an interaction between that. But the interaction is that editorial one, instead of the burden of having to really recreate that session, which can be so hard to do if you're not doing it right after the fact. One of the concerns that we see often is that our RBTs, they don't necessarily have the time to do it immediately after the session. And so really coming back to a session, even after a short interval, can be a challenging one to make sure that you make note of every relevant aspect for that. So we're seeing really good outputs from our beta users. I want to thank those early adopters as well for giving such valuable feedback. And then, some really good takeaway quotes that have really made us feel like we're on the right track. It's been a very nice it's been a nice experience to see this tool wasn't just a good idea, but it's actually doing what we designed it to do, which is bring value to your organization and having people feel really confident that it's going to do what we said it was going to do. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like on platform. So I'm going to change what we're looking at here. And to everyone on this call, you guys will, here we are at my dashboard for my Happy Therapist group. It's not mine. I'm one of the RBTs in this group. That's my role inside of this demo organization. And what I'll do here is I'll just kind of show you, I know who I'm talking to. These are experienced Essentials users, so I won't belabor this point. You guys can navigate this far better than I can, but we'll go to one of our clients. We'll get ready to do a session. Let's say pick me, and it's today on the 15th. And so we'll just start it like I would normally start my session. And then, I'd kind of go through the motions. I already have that sort of planned out. I went through and did a session for Anna in this regard. And you can kind of see that I've sort of filled out what's necessary. He's kind of getting over a cold, no incidents to report, little caregiver feedback. And then I've gone through and I've marked in data for that day's session, hypothetically yesterday's session, leaving little anecdotal notes and things like that. And as we sort of scroll down, you can see sometimes I didn't leave a note, sometimes I did. Sometimes I used poor grammar, misspelt things. That's another nice thing that this tool is designed to do, is it's designed to help correct some of those things that can make the quality of them diminish. But hey, we're human beings, we make mistakes. And if I could have some support in fixing some of those mistakes, that'd be nice. And that's what this is designed to do. So anyway, as I scroll down, you can see that I've gotten all that done. One thing that you will notice is missing is I didn't leave any additional comments. So that's all done. Again, what it's designed to do here, you can absolutely elaborate on this. For those RBTs that really find it a strength of theirs to write clear, concise, and compliant session notes, this is not designed to get in their way of them doing that. They can fill in as much additional comments as they'd like to. That will be incorporated into the draft of this. And again, they always have the editorial right of way in the sense that they can remove, transition, edit, whatever they want. But I'll take this. You can see that this is my session note right over here, just as we normally would have it. So this is bringing that correspondence and transparency component to this. You can see everything that's going to be used. And now this gets fed in. We'll generate that summary. And instead of writing, you could imagine some of the other activities that individual might be able to do in terms of transitioning either to another session or even other administrative activities. And you can see in real time, this is actually outputting what we're seeing. We can see not only what's necessary from the onset, but we've got good correspondence with the data that was collected in session. And so what I would be doing is I, as the RBT, would kind of go through this. I would make sure that it has whatever I needed it to. If it didn't, perhaps it missed my name in this regard. So I'm going to come in here, I'll edit it, I'll make sure that I'm listed with my credential. That's probably something that I need to reestablish as a mistake on my part for how I'm set up inside of the Essentials thing. So I'll fix that today. But let's say it does look really good. This is what I like. So I'm going to save and next. Then I have reviewed and accepted the summary. So again, you're getting the checks and balances that, we know that there is a risk here of, okay, I'm not going to read this carefully. Well, you need to attest that it is. So there is a little bit of a training component to this, but I think it's a relatively short hurdle to climb over. And that is that when we employ this tool inside the organization, we want to make really clear to our RBTs that what their responsibility really hasn't changed, that the end result, that the note that's being submitted on record really reflects what was observed in the session, and that it hits all of the points. It's designed to get them most of the way there, most of the time. And sometimes it's going to be perfect right off the bat. It's like, wow, that was really good. And other times you're going to see that some adjustments need to be made. And that makes sense because these LLMs are not perfect. They're not designed to be perfect. I can feed it the same data in two different occasions and I'll get two different notes. And that's just a quality of where we are right now with the LLM tools that we have. And so they still need to attest that, yep, I have reviewed this and I accept this summary and I'm going to put my name on it to show that that's what that is. I'm going to save and now I'm going to move on. And so from the standpoint of a time savings component, I think it's pretty clear that um, me yapping along during all of that happening is now afforded to me. I get to yap while that's doing what it's doing. And that's a relatively short amount of time. I think that demo took, I don't know, less than 3 minutes. Um, and that's exactly what this is designed to do, is it's designed to give you more time back. And so this is not a, this is, there's some fancy back end things that are going on from a technical perspective, but from a user's perspective, from my clinical perspective, it's doing exactly what I need. It's hitting those compliance standards, and it's also giving time back to the people who need it the most in this regard. And so that's what I have for you. But I also have more time in terms of any questions, comments, even some concerns. Listen, I think that this is an important thing to keep a skeptical eye on, certainly. We certainly do internally, but also an eye to curiosity to see, gosh, how could this make a benefit for my staff? And certainly from our early beta users, they're experiencing that value. So we feel really confident that you might have that same experience as well. I suppose to that end, we do have a poll that we could release. And I'll let Max kind of set the tone for this poll.
Sorry, I was on mute. So yeah, basically, we want to get this into the hands of our customer base. So we had a huge outpouring of responses when we released it on the 4th of people that wanted to try it out. So a lot of the purpose of Tim going through this, and thanks Tim for going through this today, was we want people to see it and understand how it works so we can get it into your hands as quickly as possible. So the poll is here to help do that as well. So the people that respond to yes, we're gonna turn that on for you in parallel to having our team reach out as well. But we didn't want that to be any sort of roadblock there. We want to have you guys try it as quick as possible. Tim, would you like me to handle the questions?
Yeah, let's see. Sorry, I pulled that up, but yeah, go ahead and fire away. Let's see.
Cool. So we had one question: is the AI tool automatic? No need to turn on. It is automatic. It is part of it's part of our platform that we have to turn on as a company on the back end. It's our part of our plus tier. So once we do turn that on, it is in there for you to use right away. And another question was, when will this be launched? So we launched it on the 4th of April. We had it in beta and we ran thousands of queries with beta customers just to make sure we were honing it correctly. But the official release was, I think, April 2nd.
So already out there and already available to you if you want. Well, again, thank you guys very much. And sorry, let me change my screen. There we go. Another question here about, is it useful for BCBA practitioners? Well, absolutely. I mean, it sort of depends. I mean, obviously, your BCBAs, supervising BCBAs are running sessions as well. And depending on the billing code that you're using, it could be as relevant to that. I think if you're making that analyst note, this is not going to have one of those components that's really important to a behavior analyst note, which is going to have that comment around perhaps past data and considering a little bit longer from a timescale perspective. This is really designed, at least at the present moment, to talk about that session that was just recorded. And so certainly from an editorial perspective, you could go in and add comments about perhaps recent past performance, around trajectory, around adjustments to treatment plan, or something like that. That's really going to be from that behavior analyst role inside of that. So absolutely able to add that from an editorial perspective, and be on the lookout, because as I mentioned, this isn't just one thing. This is really a layered approach to bringing tools across platforms and within the platform to really bring value to as many of the people inside that organization. And so there are plans in the works as it relates to billing. There's plans in the works as it relates to behavior analyst, and whether that's from supporting in assessment results to treatment planning to a behavior analyst note who ran a session or supervised portions of a session. So yeah, keep your eyes open for that as well. Lori asks, can this be used with custom agency session notes or just the default essentials note right now? So right now, it's just as you mentioned on the kind of standard note that we have there. And I'll let Max make any adjustments to that moving forward. But to my knowledge, we haven't gone down the road yet of a really like if you have really specific requirements, that isn't part of this yet.
Yeah, and I think part of that answer is also just using our custom forms for that piece of it as well too. And we do have the plan to incorporate it into that in the future as well. For today, it's just for our standard session notes.
Thanks, Max. Glad to have you. All right. Well, and also too, if you find yourself on the fence of this, I really appreciate that. Feel free to reach out to me as well, tim.fuller@centralreach.com. If you have any questions or concerns, you want to talk about this a little further or about this from like a really specific level, also reach out to your contacts at Essentials too and be in communication with the team there. This has been a really integrated effort. There's been a lot of great voices and eyes on the outputs of this. And so if there's any further information that you need or that you would if you had that information, you could feel really in a better position to make a powerful choice around this. Please don't hesitate to reaching out with regard to that. I know the Essentials team is really, really keen to make sure that people have all the information they need so they can make that choice for themselves. So without further ado, if there's no other questions, let you guys get back to your day, which is kind of the purpose of this demo anyway, get more time back for you. And thank you again for taking some time out of your Monday to take a look at this with us.